Hi there, I'm Crystal Gazer and welcome to my channel. So, are we really getting a Guild Wars 3? The forums and other YouTubers have been discussing for a little while now whether or not we are actually getting a Guild Wars 3. The information around ranges from "it's official, we're getting Guild Wars 3" to "don't trust the source." I have to say I kind of come down on the side of I'll believe it when I see it. There's been speculation about whether a Guild Wars 3 is coming out for a long time now. Like, I am talking pre-Heart of Thorns here. No, we've never had anything like this where one of the companies involved in Guild Wars 2 has said something about getting Guild Wars 3. But how reliable is it? So for those of you who don't know, NCSoft held their big annual shareholder meeting recently where they explained where the company's at, where it's going, their AGM. In this meeting, it's been reported that they stated ANET are developing Guild Wars 3, as in it is actively being developed. To me, though, this is not wholly reliable information. The article is originally in Korean, and I haven't been able to verify how legitimate that original article is. You know, we're taught in school to try and be discerning about what constitutes a legitimate source. They need to be experts in their field or have a track record of accurate reporting. If it's science, they need to be peer reviewed. There's a whole bunch of things that go into making something a legitimate source. On top of that, it's originally in Korean, which means that I, like many people in the world, have had to rely on Google Translate to translate it into my language. We don't know how accurate that is. There's all sorts of things that can go wrong when you try and translate something. Even the English articles I've read and the YouTubers I've watched have been saying we're not quite ready to send out the hype train yet. Even if it is true, we've not been given a budget, a timescale, and ANET haven't said a word about it yet. This to me suggests that even if it is true, we're in the really early days here. And MMOs take years to develop. I think I saw somewhere that it typically takes 2 to 4 years of development, and some games take like a decade or more, and all of them cost millions of dollars. It's always a risky investment, so I think it'll need to be a bit more than just in development before we hear anything about it if it is going ahead. Given that ANET have been much better with communication, okay, not great yet, but they are doing so much better than they were. I think that if they were anywhere near something tangible, we'd have heard about it by now. I do feel for ANET though with this sort of speculation. The player base hasn't long stabilised and felt secure after all the layoffs that happened and uncertainty surrounding Icebrood Saga. And then they get hit by this. ANET have been really good with giving us roadmaps. They've explained we're going to be getting more regular expansions with quarterly updates to the story. They're looking at doing work on World v World. Okay, so they've been saying that for a long time and it seems to usually be put on the back burner, but they have said they'll be doing that. They've started a new story, having wrapped up the Dragon Cycle stuff. I just think we need to hold off on getting all stressy or excited. Let's just see where the current story goes before we start worrying. I think what's more interesting is how every time there's a lull in content release or a perceived or actual issue, the community seems to jump to the conclusion that we're suddenly going into maintenance mode. And it has done since, like I said, before the first expansion. To me, this speaks of the lack of transparency from ANET, and I think the reason we as the players have recently felt more secure is because they're doing a much better job, as I've said, at sort of communicating with us. However, because this is a recent development, it means that we still don't quite trust it. So for something like this article to then come along just when we feel secure and safe is a bit of a blow to the relationship ANET have been recently fostering with us. Well, I think that sums up my thoughts on Guild Wars 3 and whether we're getting it. I know my posting has been really sporadic. I am trying to set up a manageable schedule, but it's very much a work in progress at the moment. Anyway, thank you all for your patience, and I'll see you next time.